Hello everyone, I'm Redvog, and welcome to my attempt at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Yellow without spending any in-game money. With inflation in the Western world reaching generational highs, people are cutting back on unnecessary spending wherever possible. While this could lead to a global recession, I wanted to see if I could complete a hardcore Nuzlocke without buying any unnecessary items, like, Pokeballs for catching Pokemon. If you clicked on this video intentionally and don't know what a hardcore Nuzlocke is, you may have been living under a rock for the past few years, but here's a recap anyway. 1. You can only catch the first Pokemon you come across on every route. 2. When a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and can't be used again. 3. You can't level your Pokemon higher than the next gym leader's ace. 4. No items in battle. And 5. Battles have to be on set mode. I do play with some minor additions and changes to the standard rule set, like the duplicates clause, but if any of that comes relevant, I'll just explain it when I get there. The amount of Pokemon I can catch will be limited to the amount of Pokeballs that I find on the ground, so I'm going to need to be strategic with my encounters. An extra element of difficulty will come from being unable to buy TMs and Game Corner coins, and because I can't buy healing items, I'll need to make sure to pick up as many potions as possible, otherwise I face the prospect of not being able to heal my team between the Elite Four members. I've chosen Pokémon Yellow to try this out for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it's the first Pokemon game I ever played, and secondly, because of Pikachu. Because it sucks. Its stats are terrible, it's useless against the first gym leader, and it doesn't even evolve. Now I know what you're thinking, the real reason I've chosen Yellow is because of the free gift Pokemon. Lapras, Eevee, the 3 Kanto starters, so this isn't going to be very difficult. Well, for that very reason, I'm banning gift Pokemon in the challenge. So, on that note, let's dive right into the challenge. One of the few things that Gen 1 does better than the later generations is that you're very quickly thrown into the action at the start. So I try and leave my hometown, and the local figure of authority, Professor Oak, stops me because he wants to give me a creature to kill other children's pets with. Oak takes me to his lab, where the Pokemon he's reserved for me is snatched by my greedy rival, who I've called Loaded, and I'm left with the unwanted Pikachu, which I name Skint. Now, I realise this may sound like a swear word to any US viewers, but I assure you, it's just British slang for being broke. If you're not fluent in British slang, don't worry, you will be by the end of this video. The first battle with Loaded starts smoothly, thanks to Pikachu landing a critical hit, and Loaded deciding not to attack me after the first turn. Pikachu is very frail, so a crit from Eevee would land me in trouble, but it just spams Tail Whip, and we don't fall at the first hurdle. I take a quick unpaid internship as Professor Oak's delivery boy, and then the run is off and running. However, under my rules, the Nuzlocke doesn't start until you get Pokeballs, so I take the opportunity to level up Pikachu without missing out on any encounters. I can't exactly go and buy Pokeballs from the Pokemart, can I? I could start the Nuzlocke by collecting the single Pokeball that's available in Viridian Forest, but a little known feature of Gen 1 is that if you don't catch any new Pokemon, and you also beat the rival on Route 22, you can return to Professor Oak, and he'll give you 5 Pokeballs to get you started on your journey. I want to shout out to Scott's Thoughts, whose Pokemon Yellow Solo Challenge videos taught me this. I really recommend checking out his channel if you like those single Pokemon playthrough videos. So I get Pikachu to level 10, and I can safely wipe out Loaded, Spearow and Eevee before returning to Oak and claiming my prize. With those freely acquired Pokeballs, the Nuzlocke is now live, and I head off to get my first encounter on Route 22. Because I have limited resources to catch a Pokemon, I'm just going to skip over any instances when I run into an encounter and I don't have any intention of adding it to my team. To stand a chance against Brock, 3 of the possible 5 encounters here are viable, being the 2 Nidorans and Mankey. They all have super effective fighting moves against Brock's rock types. I get Nidoran female, I catch it in a single Pokeball, and I name it Paw. Provided I can keep it alive, I wouldn't be surprised to take Nidoqueen into the Elite Four with me, given its balanced stats and great TM move pool. Route 2 gives me the chance at another encounter, and I get a Rattata. Now, being limited by the number of Pokeballs I have presents an interesting dilemma. Do I risk wasting them on trying to catch mediocre Pokemon, or do I need to add something to my team to give myself more options? I decide I need something to steamroll the early game, so I catch the rodent and call it Destitute. I'm fairly certain Destitute won't be coming to the Elite Four though. Heading through the forest, I make sure to pick up the hidden antidote, as getting poisoned here would be a death sentence. I also pick up the aforementioned Pokeball and catch a Caterpie, as Butterfree with Confusion in the early game is completely OP. I call the Butterfree in the red. In Pewter City, some guy wants me to fritter away 50 of my precious Pokédollars on a museum ticket to see some old rocks. What a terrible suggestion, and shouldn't kids get free admission anyway? So my Brock strategy is to double kick down the Geodude with Paw, and stay in for as long as possible against Onix, before letting In the Red clear up. The first part goes exactly to plan, and Brock's Geodude goes down quickly, but I suspect that Onix is probably faster, so I don't want to get trapped in the infinite Gen 1 bind loop. The switch to In the Red is safer here, and it's faster than Onix hitting a Confusion before Onix retaliates with Bide, not to be confused with Bind. Not wanting to take the Bide damage, I just stall a couple of turns before a critical hit Confusion wins me the first gym badge, and in an act of petulance I toss the Bide TM that Brock gives me right in front of his eyes. Heading out of Pewter I encounter a Spearow, and that's a decent encounter, but with only 3 balls in my bag I decide to keep my powder dry for the time being. There'll be other chances to catch flying Pokemon later, and I just want more type diversity on my team at the moment. In the Pokemon Center outside Mount Moon, I have to sadly decline the Magikarp Salesman's Deal of the Century, as it involves money changing hands. I'll just have to wait until later to get the best encounter in the game. I'd have liked to have caught a Geodude in Mount Moon, but of course my encounter here is a Zubat, and in Gen 1 it's totally worthless without the Crobat evolution. To make matters worse, while battling an optional trainer, I get trigger happy on the A button, and when leveling up my Butterfree I accidentally overwrite Confusion with Stun Spore. This leaves In the Red with 3 status moves and only Tackle for dealing damage, and that's a real nuisance given the volume of poison types in the game. Oh, Gen 1 and its lack of quality of life features. En route 4 there's a hidden Great Ball, and I don't like the look of any of the encounters here, so I just head straight through to Cerulean to take on the rival. The battle starts well with his Spearow and Sandshrew going down quickly to my Pikachu and newly evolved Nidorina. The tide of the battle turns though, with a couple of missed attacks leaving poor in crit range against Loaded's Rattata, so I'm forced to switch to In the Red, and then Destitute to take down the Rat. Thankfully, Destitute can then 1v1 Loaded's Eevee. Although it looks like I'm dead to crit on the last turn, as Eevee's tackle did 14 damage while I'm -1 defense, Gen 1 crits ignore all stat changes, so I was always safe here. North of Cerulean, people keep trying to foist their junk on me. Some guy gives me a nugget, which I promptly toss, and then someone else tries to offload a worthless Charmander on me. Really dodged the bullet with that one. I mean, everyone knows that Bulbasaur is a superior Gen 1 starter, right? After a quick trip to Bill, which includes this very cute Pikachu animation, I decide to backtrack from my encounters north of Nugget Bridge. Route 24 yields an oddish, but what I really wanted here was a Bellsprout, so I run away and decide to save my Pokeballs for Route 25 instead. Here I do get lucky with the 25 Bellsprout encounter, and I call it Penniless and add it to the team. I decide I'm not ready to take on Misty yet, so I head south to Vermilion to level up the team a bit. In this battle on Route 6, trying to get Destitute to evolve into Eradicate, I lose track of how much damage the opponent's Quick Attack does, which leaves me in crit range of a Hyper Fang. I only realise my mistake after choosing my attack, and here I'm just praying to avoid a critical Hyper Fang. But, of course it happens, and Destitute falls before he ever got the chance to stand on his hind legs. Rewatching this footage and looking at the damage dealt by Destitute's Hyper Fang, had I picked Quick Attack myself, it probably would have KO'd the Raticate, and Destitute would still be here with us today, so this was just really bad play by me on 2 counts. I'm sorry Destitute, rest well. Destitute's passing is quickly forgotten about, as in Vermilion I fish up the S tier encounter Magikarp, which I call Bankrupt. It may be useless now, but after a painful grind, in which Penniless also evolves into a Weepinbell, I get the special tank plus mixed attacker all rolled into one, that is Gen 1 Gyarados. Even after the special stat was split in Gen 2, and the physical special split came along in Gen 4, Gyarados remains a filthy Pokemon, and should be a mainstay of any Nuzlocke team. As for Weepinbell, unfortunately I can't evolve it, as Evolution Stones can only be purchased in the Celadon department store, so I can see Penniless giving me diminishing returns over time as the run progresses. Now, if I have learned one thing from Nuzlocking, it's to have a plan A for every battle, and then have a backup plan for when your first plan inevitably falls apart. My plan for Misty is to have Penniless put Staryu to sleep, and then set up Growth, which, due to the combined special stat in Gen 1, is essentially the same move as Calm Mind. This should allow Penniless to tank any attacks from Starmie, then KO it with Vine Whip. If things go wrong, I have Gyarados in the back which resists Starmie's water moves. As the saying goes, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Well, except this time, which goes precisely to plan. That's 2 badges down and a useful TM in Bubble Beam, which gets used immediately on Bankrupt. I evolve Paw into Nidoqueen on the SSN, so it can learn Body Slam when it reaches level 23. I also have a close call with an exploding Voltorb on one of the cannons. I mean, I always forget that Voltorb learns self-destruct at a really low level, and I was totally dead to crit here. Having a Nidoqueen this early on trivialises the battle with Loaded, and the next obstacle on my path to world domination is the war criminal, Lieutenant Surge. Seriously, check out his red and blue dialogue if you don't believe me. The man belongs in a dock in The Hague. To help make this battle much easier, I head to Diglett's cave to catch a Diglett and call it hard up. Dig is 100 base power in Gen 1, and Dugtrio's high base speed means it has a high critical hit chance. This makes Dugtrio a fantastic team member, provided it can one-shot its opponents, because with a base HP stat of 35 it sure as hell ain't taking any hits in return. Given that I've just hyped it up, it shouldn't come as a surprise that against Surge, hard up outspeeds and OHKOs the Raichu. Now I have the Thunder Badge, the game starts to open up. With a diverse team of 6 Pokemon, nothing really challenges me until I get to Celadon City. Now, I can't pick up the Eevee here, but what I can pick up are Game Corner coins on the casino floor. One man's trash is another's treasure after all. I managed to beg, borrow and steal my way to 280 coins, and with them, buy my Celadon City encounter, Needy the Abra. Hey, I never said I wasn't allowed to spend Game Corner coins. Once Needy evolves into Kadabra, it's straight onto the team to replace In the Red, and I've got one of the best glass cannons in the game, even if I can't evolve it into Alakazam without trading. I wipe the floor with the rockets in Celadon, and head over to Lavender to pay my respects to the souls of my many previous Nuzlocke failures. The battle with Loaded is easy, I have a level advantage, and a lot of his team are still first form Pokemon. And in the tower, I catch a Garcy and name it Ruined. I'm not sure how much I'll use it, but seeing as this is the only ghost type in the game, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. I rescue Mr. Fuji, get the Poke Flute, and head back to Celadon for the showdown with Erica. All this walking around has made me realise I want a flyer on my team, so I stop off on Route 16 hoping for a Doduo, which somehow learns fly despite having no wings. However, my encounter here is another Spearow, but this time I decide to catch it and name it Down and Out. Sorry Route 3 Spearow for the beautiful friendship that we could have had I not denied you it. Anyways, as well as being my flyer, Down and Out learns the 80 base power move Drill Peck. This happens at level 29, provided you delay the Fearow evolution, which I do so that I have the move before the Erica level cap. This decision pays dividends, with a no damage sweep of the 4th gym, although that is partly thanks to Tanky Tangle and missing his attack. Also, it's practically obligatory to point out the creep outside the gym when doing a Gen 1 playthrough. I just don't know what Game Freak were thinking with this one. I want to move on to the next gym, but a sleeping Snorlax is blocking my progress, and oh boy, I cannot wait to add this guy to my team and stomp the rest of the game. I lead with Ruined, who is immune to Lax's normal type moves, and put it to sleep to boost my chances of catching it. I damage Snorlax a bit, and then this happens. Nah, I'm just kidding, I was out of Pokeballs anyway, and decided I wouldn't catch either Snorlax available in the game. This chonky boy is just too OP in Gen 1. As there's a large level cap jump to Koga and Sabrina, I decide I want to go to Saffron City and clear out the rockets from Silphco for some levels. This is when I realise I've run into a problem. In order to progress the storyline, the game forces you to spend money on a drink to quench the guard's thirst. Resigned to spending money, I head to the vending machines in Celadon department store. And that's when I notice there's a loose bottle of water on the bottom shelf, and with a little nudge of the vending machine, it pops out. I give the stolen drink to the guard, who's appreciative of the cool, refreshing beverage I've bestowed upon him, and he gulps it down like it's the most delicious liquid to ever pass his lips.
The secret ingredient is crime.
But seriously, 24/7 guard duty with no breaks or refreshments? These guys should form a union or something. To atone for my criminal ways, I crush everything on my path on my way to Giovanni and Silphco, including the rival fight, which again is simplified due to my level advantage. A Gen 1 256 miss versus Nidorino, and being speed-tied with his Persian are the only interesting things to mention, as Giovanni crumbles like his legion of grunts before him. The President thanks me by giving me the option for another encounter with the Master Ball, but I reject the reward, I just don't need it at this stage. With the rocket threat vanquished, I can get back to the gym challenge, and Down and Out wants to prove why I was foolish to ignore his Spearow brethren on Route 3. A second consecutive no damage sweep is on the cards, despite Koga's Venomoth having a 4 level advantage. However, the most difficult gym leader in the game is next, with Sabrina's Alakazam being a challenge, due to its insane speed and special stats. That means a critical hit Psychic could potentially OHKO several of my team members. For this reason, I decide to hatch a plan, noting that Sabrina's lead Abra knows only Flash, which deals no damage but lowers the target's accuracy instead. What I need here is a physical attacker, with a setup move, and which can learn the move Swift to bypass all accuracy checks. And that's how Down and Out steps up to the plate for the third consecutive gym. What I want to do here is abuse the Gen 1 badge boost glitch, where using any stat altering move reapplies the stat boost received from gym badges. As I have the Boulder, Thunder and Soul badges, by using agility 3 times, I can boost my attack, defense and speed by around 60%, instead of the usual 12.5% that I would start the battle with. I also get the usual 2-stage boost to Fearow speed from each use of agility. I've taught Fearow Swift by TM, so I can bypass any accuracy drops on Flash, and that way I don't have to risk an attack missing Sabrina's Alakazam when it comes out. Of course, as it happens, Abra doesn't miss a single Flash out of 3 attempts, so I can just use Drill Peck for the additional damage. One thing to note about this strategy is that leveling up mid-battle resets all your badge boosts, so I make sure to go into the Sabrina battle immediately after Fearow reaches level 50. I'll admit it, that was a cheap way to win, but hey, look, it's my run, my rules. And if you don't like that, go cry to the Nuzlocke Validation Council or something. Another benefit of having a Soul badge is that I can finally use Surf outside of battle, if only I had been diligent enough to pick up the HM on my journey. A quick Google shows the Surf HM and the Warden's Gold Teeth required for Strength are hidden in the Safari Zone. So, I head over to Fuchsia City, but the ice cream on the bobby wants a bleeding monkey for me to take a butcher's. And so, that's it. I failed in my quest to Nuzlocke Pokémon Yellow without spending a dime. I guess all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, like and subscribe.
But wait!
Did I get you? I just remembered that my twin brother, Bluevog, who is definitely real, and not just a cynical marketing ploy to make you buy 2 copies of the same game, has already completed his Nuzlocke, and he can help me out of this conundrum. I ask him kindly if I can trade my Gyarados to him and have him teach it Surf and Strength, then trade it back to me. He duly obliges, and he even overwrites the moves that I asked him to. What a great guy. With Bluevog's kind assistance, I can get through the Seafoam Islands and onto Blaine, who we all know is a joke for battle in every generation. To reach him you need to have the 95 BP water move Surf, which is super effective against his entire team, and it's just poor game design by Game Freak at this point. At least he gives you a decent TM for your troubles though, unlike some of the other gym leaders. This just leaves the final showdown in the Viridian City Gym before I can challenge the Elite Four. Giovanni has Horndrill and Fissure at his disposal, which will OHKO if the user's speed is higher than the target's, assuming the attack doesn't miss of course. Thankfully Bankrupt secondary typing makes it immune to ground moves, so Dugtrio's Fissure won't be a problem, and Rhydon, which knows Horndrill, is incredibly slow. This allows Bankrupt to surf its way through most of Giovanni's team, although Persian comes out and tries double team shenanigans, so I switch to Ruin to play around it. With that, I claim the Earth Badge and can head to the Indigo Plateau. Another whipping awaits loaded on Route 22, and the end of the challenge is in sight. Victory Road contains some useful items for the Elite Four, and it presents a good opportunity to grind out the last few levels needed. At this point, I feel unstoppable, so I zoom through this part of the game on turbo mode. Nothing, I repeat, nothing, can throw me off course from my destiny as a champion. Except maybe forgetting that wild Geodudes can be a threat to Ruined, as Earthquake can hit me in Gen 1. No Levitate until Gen 3, you dummy. I'm not gonna lie, that death hurts. Losing my normal and fighting type immunity just before the Elite Four sucks. But thankfully, Needy the Kadabra is in the box, and can come in as a direct replacement for the Elite Four team. Learning my lesson from Ruin's untimely passing, I raised the rest of my team to level 62 to match Lance's Dragonite. I optimised my movesets for the challenge ahead, and here's who's joining me for the final challenge. Skint the Pikachu, my starter. Needy the Kadabra. Down and Out, the Fearow who I only ever thought would be useful for flying. Hard Up, the critical hit spamming Dugtrio. Bankrupt the Gyarados with its huge attack stat. And Poor the Nidoqueen, who has Toxic and Rest for stall strats if it really comes to it. I also withdraw all my TMs and all the healing items I have scavenged along the way. I have 5 full restores, 3 max potions, an assortment of other potions, and some status healing items if required. In terms of TMs, the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed I saved TM14 Blizzard and a few PP ups for later. The idea here is I don't want to teach it to a team member now, only to lose it in one of the early Elite Four battles, leaving me with no answer for Lance's dragons. It feels weird not being able to buy a stack of full restores like I normally would before an Elite Four attempt, but this is still a generous amount of healing items. Can I do this? Well, there's only one way to find out. Electric types generally work well against the Ice type Elite Four member Lorelei, who has 4 water types because of reasons. My best option here is Skint, as I didn't manage to catch a Magnanimity in either Route 10 or the power plant. I head into battle a bit nervous, but Skint clearly means business, starting with a crit Oko on Dugong straight off the bat. Cloister follows, and that was always going to be an Oko due to its terrible special stat. Slowbro comes out third, and to my surprise, doesn't survive a Thunderbolt, so that's 3 of Lorelei's Pokemon down, with no damage taken in return. I decide to stay in with Skint to keep momentum, and another T-Bolt does about half damage, before Jinx can retaliate with an Ice Punch for a third of Skint's health. Thankfully, I dodge the 10% Gen 1 freeze, which can't be thawed out. As I'm not dead to a critical hit, I stay in for another T-Bolt, get the high roll, and that brings out Lorelei's tanky ace, Lapras. I'm not planning on using Skint after this battle, so I decide to risk it to see how much damage Thunderbolt does. After hitting for a good 2/3 of Lapras' HP, I get confused, and I decide to respect the confusion, so switch and Bankrupt to finish the job. I get unlucky with a paralysis from Body Slam on the switch, and then getting confused and hitting myself in confusion. However, Bankrupt is still quite healthy here, and because of my limited healing items, I don't want to switch to another party member who will take damage. I tell Bankrupt to go on the attack, and it comes in clutch, hitting through both paralysis and confusion to win the first battle. I heal up the team, and I'm on to Bruno, who needy can one-shot sweep with Psychic. This guy must have won a competition to be an Elite Four member for a day. I have multiple options for dealing with Agatha's team, but decide to lead with Hard Up. Other than her Golbat, which just misses Supersonic. Game Freak, why no Confuse Ray? This is the Elite Four. The rest of her team is simple. I can just spam stab EQs against her Ghosts and, Snake for easy Okos. Consider this retribution for Ruin's death in Victory Road. I hope your soul is finally at peace, my friend. In hindsight, I'm slightly regretting playing this in Gen 1 at this stage. Gen 3, with the addition of abilities, would have made this a much more interesting battle. Here's hoping Lance can put up a better showing. My plan for Lance is to match up my Gyarados against his, except I've taught mine Thunderbolt, which leads to an easy kill. Not so elite now, are you, Lance? However, his Dragonair then comes out, and it knows Thunderbolt, so I'm forced to switch into Paul. If you're wondering why his Dragonair didn't use T-Bolt on the switch here, it's because in Gen 1 the AI picks a move after the player has taken their turn. As you can see, I've taught Blizzard to Paul, and that allows me to one-shot the dragons on Lance's team. The problem with Blizzard is it's not 100% accurate, and Paul misses its attack on the second Dragonair. I get worried when I see it respond with a super effective Ice Cream, but it does barely anything, and there's no critical hit or freeze, so I can just knock out the Dragonair on the following turn. The Aerodactyl which follows is faster than Paul, and has a huge attack stat, so had it crit, this Hyper Beam might just have killed, depending on the damage roll. Paul's response is to hit a hard Surf, which almost knocks out the Aerodactyl, and then Lance just wastes time healing before Aerodactyl must recharge, and that allows Paul to finish the job. That brings out Lance's final team member, and as I'm almost at the champion, I decide to just send it and hit a Blizzard against the final Dragonite. I am risking Dragonite outspeeding, or Blizzard missing, but neither of those things happen, and I'm on to the final battle with my rival. Loaded's final team is nicely balanced. It's got some great Pokemon, and they've got some good movesets. But it is being controlled by the Gen 1 AI, and that does really hold it back. I just can't bring myself to hype this battle up, and I think the footage really speaks for itself here. As a few examples, Alakazam could use Psychic, but chooses Psybeam. Executor could try Hypnosis or Leech Seed, but just goes for Barrage. And by the time Loaded is down to Ninetales and Jolteon, it would just take some serious RNG for me to lose. Sadly, it's all over before it really gets going, which is a bit of a recurring theme for these last few battles. But hey, I'm the champion, and I did it without spending a single Pokédollar in a hardcore Nuzlocke. My penny pinching team and I are inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I reflect back on how the challenge has gone. Firstly, I really enjoyed it. It's great playing Gen 1 again after all these years, despite all the faults. The early game in particular was really fun and did feel challenging at times when I had to really pick and choose my encounters and manage XP to make sure I stayed within level caps. However, once I got to the mid-game, things started to get much easier. Although my rule set limits the amount of Pokemon I can catch, it still lets me get some pretty OP Pokemon, and this allowed me to play an autopilot for a lot of the battles. In addition, in this challenge, I grinded manually instead of using rare candies, so my team gained a lot of stat experience, which is Gen 1's equivalent to EVs. This meant I had significant stat advantages over the AI in the later battles. I would be interested in repeating this challenge, but in another generation, and probably with a few modifications to the rules to make them run more challenging after the early game. I think the better AI and game mechanics in later gens may make for a more interesting playthrough, and I could also ban certain encounters or use rare candies to level up so I don't overload on EVs. Let me know in the comments your ideas for how I could have made this run more challenging, or your suggestions for a better game to attempt a similar type of challenge. The credits roll, and so I did it. I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Yellow without spending any money. I finished the game with well over 300,000 Pokédollars, and have likely put the Pokémart chain into administration and forced their employees into unemployment. I consider my life choices as I come to the conclusion I've just spent hours of my life making an advert for late-stage capitalism. Still, I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please press that like button, share it far and wide, and please consider subscribing to my channel to stay tuned for future Nuzlockes. This is Redfog, saying TTFN.